finally made it. Wow, we finally made it. Wow, we finally made it.
Alright, well, welcome to Talks with Friends. This is my friend Dylan Carpenter. He's my old goalie from Texas State. I always start out, Dylan, with when was your first drink? What was it? How many did you have?
Yeah, so good to be here, Kyle. You know, it's been a while. You know, we play hockey against each other. But first drink, man, I hate to say it, but I think it was Jaeger. And I think I had like way too much because I remember just throwing up all over the bathroom when I was like 15. And I think my grandpa was the one who found me, actually, which is the most awkward part because we ended up having a little party and parents weren't home. And they caught wind. We had people over, and the next thing you know, I'm waking up and he's like, "Dylan, are you okay?" And there's just vomit all over the bathroom, and you know that Jaeger smell coming up isn't the greatest. And since then, I've been a big wuss when it comes to just anything Jaeger bombs. They're fun.
PTSD from it.
Yeah. My dad was always like, "It's deer blood, you know. You gotta take it in."
Deer blood.
Yeah. No, it was a good time. I don't drink as much these days. I'm a big cocktail guy. I don't even drink a lot of beers, really. I love a good margarita and some queso, but even a spiked Shirley Temple I fuck with. But yeah, no, I think it's throughout the Texas State side, the beers just flowed a little too much, and I don't know, I just never got the joy of them. And I'm a sipper, I'm not a big chugger, so I'd rather have it hit me a little bit quicker. But yeah.
I had an awful story of when I was in Vancouver. So I was playing the BCHL, the Burnaby Express, and then the Vancouver Giants were the WHL team, right? So we did a joint rookie party. So we go to the P&E or whatever the hell it's called, like a amusement park kind of thing that they set up seasonally there. And so I get tagged up with Milan Lucic as my guy, and I'm like, what? This guy's gonna kill me, dude. He made me shotgun 6 beers before we went in there. I thought I've never shotgunned a beer before. He's like, "You're spilling it." Like, I wish I could have done that trick on him and just sprayed him in the face like everybody does. Like, I was like, bro, but he was like so aggressive. Like, you have to. I'm like, dude, I'm the DD. Like, what is going on here? I've never even drank before. So that was my shotgun story. And I watch people do it all the time in the parking lot after beer league, and I'm like, no, like, I'm good, dude. I have to drive home. I'm not gonna shotgun a 16-ounce Coors. Like, ugh.
Yeah, and your team is definitely a parking lot team after the games. Like, I'm ready. I just want to fucking. Yeah. I just want to get in and get the shower and get the fuck out. And I mean, even after the games, I don't even booze, really. I just want to go home and sit on the couch and, you know, maybe get a little high and play some video games. Like,
yeah, we do not win many games, but we always win the parking lot. Like, Joe sometimes will be sitting there with me, and it's like 2:30, and there's another 2 guys at, like, the park bench or whatever over there by the building. And he's like, "We can't let him win." I'm like, "Dude, I have to drive an hour home. Like, what is going on?" He's like, "We got to stay 10 more minutes using." I'm like, oh my goodness. But I get that story out of it, I guess. But yeah, we're just parking lot champions.
Oh, big time. Yeah, and I mean, y'all stepped it up this past season. When I found out we were playing, y'all, I was like, fuck yeah. Because I don't. The last 2 seasons we were on fire, and then this season everybody was like, you know, we were all kind of fucked up, and I think we came in like second to last this season, like stat wise. And y'all beat us twice, and I'm like, I have so much animosity for the team just because it's like all Texas State guys, and I'm like, I have to beat them. So
did Joe ever ask you to play for us?
In the beginning he did, but I was already on the Eskimos, and I liked them a lot. And then I think I hit him up like, "Hey, if y'all need a goalie, hit me up." He's like, "We're good with our guy." I'm like, "Sweet." But
you want to hear a fun story about our guy?
Yeah.
So y'all beat us, right? We get in the locker room, he's slamming his shit down.
He seemed pissed.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, but he's not, like, he's a B1 goalie, right? Yeah. In my eyes, and Joe just loves him, so he's like, we're not going to replace him. So like, oh, that's fine. Like, that Michigan goalie that plays in the Dublin League,
he's fucking good.
He's like, "Hey, Joe, can I play on your team?" He's like, "We're good, bro." I'm like, "Yo, hey, maybe we should have a backup plan or something, you know?" So anyways, he comes in the locker room, he's throwing his shit off. I'm like, I'm just getting a beer, and he's already half dressed, or undressed. I'm like, "What's going on, dude?" Fucking waste my time with fucking, and he lives in Jarl, so it's a drive for him. I get it. The guy's like, "Hey, you gonna stay for a few?" And he's like, "No, fuck this." I think he bought one of the cases, so I was like, at least one, dude. He just bought a 24-pack. So he gets in there, he rips off all of his shit, and then Jerica said something to me the other day about Harrison, you know, that guy that's Joe's friend with the little mustache and long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he says something to everybody when they leave. He goes, "Hey, I love you, say it back," and like tries to force you to say "I love you" back to him. That was kind of cool, like a little quirk thing, right? So when he's leaving, you know, I'm pushing buttons here, but I'm like, "Hey man, love you, say it back." He's like, "Fuck you," and then he just pushes all of our sticks down in the hallway, walks on them, and just leaves. I'm like, can we cut this guy? Like, not really, but I'm just like, what is, like, this is a men's league game on a Wednesday night. Like, chill the fuck out, dude. Like,
Wow.
so I just was like, I was kind of just fed up, but I get it, right? Like, wires cross. You've probably seen it 100 times with me, but were you involved in that all with that Benoit thing? Were you there when Benoit called me out in the hallway? So there's a
Was this past Wednesday?
no, it was like I don't know, maybe a month ago. So I get suspended. Anyways, they keep getting roughhoused out there. I'm like, hey, if you're not going to police the game, I will, to the refs. Like, Atkinson, call something here, right? And so one kid comes down. I see nobody's looking. I just give him a little shot, and he goes flying in the fucking corner. He comes up, tries to fight me, like punching me and shit. And I just let it. I'm wearing a cage. Who cares, dude, right? He goes in the box. We go score in the power play or something. And I come by and like pull my right arm tattoo out and flex on him while he's in the box. And Atkinson's like, "What are you doing? Do you want me to tee you up and kick you out?" I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me." So then we go in the corner. A kid like trips me, and then he gives me a shot to the back of the kidneys. And I have PTSD from that. When I was in Corpus, same situation. I started pissing blood the next day. I had to go in and get an ultrasound, like serious-ish. Nothing was wrong. I'm good, I guess. But yeah, so I go run the kid after in the corner, get kicked out, no big deal. I didn't murder the kid, he's fine. So I get off the ice and Benoit's their captain, right? And I'm friends with him, so I was like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, think you're fucking tough? Like, I'm like, yo, like, we're off the ice, chill. And I didn't know if you just heard about it or just were in the hallway, like, I'm with random people, and I'm like, oh, I don't have any backup. Like, this is kind of, but I was like, if that guy punches me and he's on live bar, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get in trouble or what.
He'd get kicked out of the league probably.
Yeah, and I'd probably sue his ass, just to be honest. He just got a $2.5 million suit from somebody, so I'm like, oh, I'll drive your Jeep home. I told him that. I was like, I will drive your new Jeep home tonight. Just being a dickhead, but wires crossed, that's on me.
Yeah, he's a wild card, man.
I just let him take slap shots from the high slot. I'm like, okay, dude, what are you going to do there?
You know, the shittiest part is being the goalie on this side. You know, I don't want to be a dick, but he's a great probably locker room guy.
Yeah.
But I will say, when he hits that puck, he has no idea where it's going. But he's had one, and I'm not gonna lie, it hurt pretty bad.
Like just the pad, or got you up in the neck?
It was like up in the neck area, but I'm like, man, when he hits it just right, he does have a cannon, but it's rare. It's rare, but.
Did you wear the little dangly thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
So I got a dangler and I have a neck guard. Yeah, and it's funny because I was supposed to get all this new fucking gear. On my other team at the pond, this guy's like, hey, my brother-in-law's sister's brother works at Bauer and get a 60% off, and
Shit.
I'm familiar with that offer. They have it for the employees. So I'm like, sweet, let me get a full set, a helmet, new jocks, some new skates, and get swagged out. The guy took everybody's money and ran.
No
So
way.
we literally filed police reports. We got them all finalized last week. And this was like 4 or 5 months ago.
How much did you throw at him?
Mine was about $2,400. And I got Tom Hibbler on there, the Montucky goalie, and I'm like, hey man, you want to get a good deal? And I feel so bad about it. But he was in the same boat I am. But I think overall the guy maybe got $10K worth out of everybody. But I'm like, it's weird because he had a good sales job. If I really wanted to scam people, I would have gone multiple teams, multiple rings. I would have made like 30 or 40K and then vanished. But so it just didn't add up. And then every time we were like, hey man, you gotta pay. He's like, this week's the week. My kid was in the ICU. My wife just died.
In the ICU.
There's some crazy shit. And I'm like, man, I don't want to, kick him while he's down a little bit. But it was excuse after excuse. So he's fucked now. But
And they got him, or what?
well, he's got a warrant out for his arrest now.
Okay.
So, but I
Is he
doubt we'll get
local,
the money.
or
What's
is
up?
he local, or is he somewhere else?
He went to Boston. So they kicked him off our team at the pond. I never actually played with him, but the guys knew him pretty well, so they were like, "Oh, it'll be good, don't worry." And I'm like, "That's fucking weird." But
Sucks.
yeah, no new gear there. So I mean, but I have a good amount of gear now. I just donated some to Chap. I got a 6-7 from Phoenix Copley from the Kings.
yeah,
He was at the Hershey Bears and sent me some of
My
his
boy,
pads.
Phoenix. He played with me in Corpus. So like him and his brother drove down. His brother's name's Navarone, like what a name. And they drive down. They buy a car for like $5 grand, drive it all the way down the continental U.S., get to like Amarillo, and it breaks down. So we just send like a PR person to go pick them up, or like some intern or whatever, right? Get there. Phoenix is a monkey, dude. His arms are insanely like we did a wingspan thing or something for some sports show, and like he's got the wingspan of like a 7'2" basketball player.
It's fucking
So, like,
pterodactyl.
yeah, it's nuts. So he's my boy. He just signed a $2.5 million deal there, I think. But he's the backup, and I think he's had some health
He just had an
issues
AC.
with
I
it.
think he tore his ACL.
That's what it was.
Yeah, no, I saw him on Twitter, and I'm like, man, I feel like I've seen some of this guy's highlight videos, and I saw he launched a brand online, and what I do is marketing. So I was like, hey, man, if you want to send me a jersey, I'd love to help you out with your new business. And we hit it off, and yeah, he's like, you want a set of gear instead? And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Is it the blue pair you have?
It's the brown ones, the leather
Oh, okay.
ones. He sent me his practice palm, so it's I got small hands, and he's a fucking giant. So I had to send it off to get it reshaped and resized, basically. So I've been using my blue set, but I don't know how they fucking fit me. He's like 6'5", and I mean, but I mean those NHL, they're so. That K Whitmore guy fucks them so hard to where they should have way bigger pads probably, but so they somehow fit me being 5'10".
Is that his Hershey Bear set then?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, he wore them in the play. I love them. The brown. Even y'all's goalie, I fucking love his pads.
I assume he would get a shot eventually, but when he was just stuck in Hershey and he couldn't get in because Holtby was there with Washington and Lundqvist comes in, like, dude, you're just getting buried in the minors.
Yeah.
That's a good minors, not like he's in the East Coast or the SP or the Fed, but like, I was like, this kid's sick once he gets his shot. Like, that's why I was like, LA, okay, cool spot to be. He's kind of that little hippie kind of guy.
Who's the farm team for the Bears?
It was, so Washington Capitals.
Okay.
So that's where he kind of got buried there. And then I don't think he ever went down to the East Coast or anything. But yeah, I just felt bad. I was like, I saw he signed in LA, I'm like, all right, let him have 3 years to cook, and I guarantee you're going to sign him to a multi-year deal, and that'll be the end of his career, because I assume he's pretty close in age with us. Because I'm 34, he's got to be maybe 30.
I don't know. I'm 29. He's probably in between us, I would think. But no, he was kicking ass. And then I remember he said, "Yeah, whenever I got injured, they haven't won a game in like 13 games."
Oh, shit.
And this was this is recent. So this was I talked to him like a month ago. But the worst part is as you may know, I was big into the crypto scene and NFTs and stuff. And
how'd that go?
Oh, I'm so fucking negative. It's not even funny. But I had this one thing, and it turned out it was a big Ponzi scam. And CoffeeZilla, he's all over YouTube, and he like calls out scam guys like Logan Paul and stuff for like crypto projects. I ended up getting in on one of those, and I put in a good chunk of change. Now I was up over 100K, and I'm like, let me bring in some people who have some cash I know, because I was making over $1,000 a day doing that.
A day?
There was a guy day trading gold essentially, and
shit.
the more the returns per week were like 20 or 30%. It was fucking stupid. So I'm like, hey man, I'm in this thing. It's kind of sketchy, but I've actually pulled out cash from it.
Yeah.
And I got Phoenix in it. 3 months later, the project fails, and I'm like, I am so sorry, man. How can I assist you? So I sent him a katana. I have buddies who own like sword companies, and I send them to my clients and stuff. So I'm like, let me send you a katana. That's my apologies and shit. But yeah, no, I felt bad. I don't do crypto as much anymore. I still have a bunch, but I'm not like trying to hack it like I was in the past and shit. But
my dad got into one, and this is probably the downfall of him. Very cheap now, and this is where it comes from. So he, when he's playing about like $400,000, $500,000 a year, he's making as a fourth line grinder, getting his face punched in and everything. He lost 1.5 in a scam just like that. I would say it's kind of like that Wolf of Wall Street-ish. Like, it's in the 90s. There's not really, you can't really prove that these returns are coming in. Oh, here's a fax. Like, cool, dude. Like, you write anything you want on a fax. Like, so this guy gets like Cam Neely, Ray Bork, Adam Oates, all the big dogs on Boston. My dad's a little small fry, right? But he throws it in. He gets my grandma involved, everybody, and then see you later. And he takes it and puts it in a Swiss bank account. Guy runs out of town. I wondered, could I just track this man down and get us the money back? And I just keep the money. I know that's unrealistic, right? But I'm like, this is crazy that you can just take off and have no repercussions. And this is also in 1995, right? So maybe he's resurfaced or someone caught up to him or whatever, but 1.5 million my dad lost. And it's like, dude, that's like you said, I don't know what Copley put in, but like 1.5
30K.
Yeah, that's not, but still relative to what you make and whatever. But yeah, and like my mom the whole time was like, it's too good to be true. There's no way that these are the returns. We're not getting those points that they're saying we are. And like everyone's like, no, look, I just cashed out. He just came by at the rink and gave 20 grand to everybody. And like, so okay, cool. Like maybe he was making something, but then eventually probably said, oh, this is getting way too much. I got to cash out.
Well, that's how they do it. Like I was able to cash out the first like 6 months I was doing it. I'm like, cool, I can pull money out. It's still growing, it's working, but that's kind of what they want you to put more money and get more people involved. So it's not a quick process by any means, but yeah, I think this guy got like 555 million or some shit.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, I'm still in some Discord groups where guys are like, we need to figure something out, and I'm like, I hate to say it, y'all, but it's toast. And they started up another platform where our money got moved to, and it's still making money somehow when I have the withdrawals pending for over a year and a half at this point.
What the fuck?
So it's some weird, sketchy shit, but I always said before I turned 30, I'm gonna be really risky because I mean, some of my things have paid off, but
I guess that's when you can do it too,
Yeah.
right? If you get in your like retirement and you're ripping that out, like, you're fucked. Like,
Yeah.
you're done. So that's how I felt bad for my grandma and grandpa. It's like, hey, this is literally like what the, I don't know. I'm sure my dad hooked them up without the next few years. Like, he's probably just paying back the family with his income because, like, sorry, didn't mean to do that. But here's a katana.
people love the swords, man. I got like 4 at the house, and we'll get a little buzz at a hibachi table, and I'll have my girlfriend come like throw like watermelons and like
Jesus.
oranges at me. Like we'll play Fruit Ninja in the backyard and shit.
Throwing watermelons in the backyard.
Yeah.
So I knew like your whole thing was you went to Facebook, right? Is that where you went? Is that right out of college,
Yeah.
or and how did you get that job, and then how did you transition out and start your own thing?
Yeah, so this is a wild story actually. So I mean, I was at the sales department or whatever at Texas State, and because I did marketing with a sales concentration, and one of the corporate partners was Tom James, and it was custom suit tailors.
Okay.
So being hockey, we always wear suits and shit,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's cool. So they flew me out to Orlando. I spent a weekend out there. They're like, learn the ropes and shit. And I remember there was one thing where I was like, I do not want to do this anymore. Is we were at a red light, and there was a badass BMW i8 right in front of us, and they were like, watch this. They get out of the car, they knock on his window like, hey, that's a nice car, man. You should get a custom suit. And I'm like, that's how you get shot in Texas.
Holy shit.
And I was like, they chased the sale too hard, so I said, fuck that. And then I went on Indeed, and I found a random like marketing, a sales associate, or account management role, and it didn't say Facebook or anything, but it turns out it was a Facebook contract. So I was at Facebook for a year, and then ended up, I was a part of a pilot program, which is like a big beta test essentially, and I killed it there. I was one of the top ones pitching Facebook products to like advertisers and shit. And then all my clients were agencies, and I was like, I'm gonna make an agency. Everybody's doing it. So I launched my agency, Quality Media, and I basically just ran ads for people on Facebook and Instagram. And then after doing that for about 4 years, I ended up selling a portion of that business, just because I got tired of the never-ending, having to get new clients, people, phase out, employees. I just fucking hated dealing with people. So now I just do contract freelance work where I work with, a handful of brands that are just a lot bigger. And I kind of work as an employee, but I'm still a contractor just doing all their, like, meta advertising.
Did you do that Jawser size thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I saw you post something. I was like, does that work? And then I looked online, like, $40. I'm like, yo, I'll just chew gum. Like, what?
I'm not going to lie. They sent me so much product because they were a client I had at Facebook, and I totally yanked them from Facebook. I mean, we were still spending money on Facebook, so it's a win-win for everybody. Mm-hmm. But I no joke, I tried that thing, and I think I fucked my jaw up. Because, like, I can't open my jaw straight up. I have to, like, angle it. Or it could be the tooth missing. I don't know. It's one of the two. But, no, dude, I'm selling a bunch of dick pills right now. And semaglutide and Ozempic. But, yeah, no, I do a lot in the health space and, like, ED and men's health. And that's juicy. I do a lot of equity deals. So I'm, like, partners with all these businesses and cut them good deals. So, like, we can essentially get acquired or have something big happen, which is a big payday in the long run. So it's pretty risky, but I'm pretty good at finding, like, this is not going to just be a fidget spinner that's going to die out. It's kind of new and revolutionary. So I'd rather cut them a deal and get equity when I know it's going to be a huge fucking payday in, like, 3 to 5 years.
I guess you can pick and choose now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know the business, you know how fucking shit works. Oh, that's a fad. This isn't going to be around.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So, like, yeah, I guess you have the insight on that.
Yeah, it's some guy he's like, hey, can you help me run ads? And I'm like, oh, cool, what do you sell? And it was fucking, not essential oils, but what are those oils that smell?
I think they're essential. Like, you put them in the little diffusers in
Yeah.
the house and shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's. I was like, hard no, brother. Sorry about that. Cause yeah, I'm selling like stuffed animals, men's health products, weight loss stuff, bowls, plates, and kitchen items, and it's chill, man. I realistically probably work 3 or 4 hours a day and play video games for like 4 or 5 hours a day. And
What was the biggest thing you learned from Facebook? I don't know if it's like, oh, do not do this, or like, hey, hammer it on this. Like, was there anything, like, one specific thing you're like, I'm gonna take that with me the rest of this ride?
Kind of fake it till you make it. You can bullshit
like
it pretty easy.
everyone's doing that.
Because, like, with what we were taught at Facebook was not what was good at all. Like, they're like, hey, here's a book, here's what you should recommend. And after I left, I'm like, holy shit, I felt so bad for recommending that shit. Because I never spent money on ads when I was there. So, like, I was talking to people who were spending money. I'm like, oh, you gotta try this out. It's a new feature, and it's trash. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it just really helped sharpen my sales skills. I think I'm a sales guy at heart. I was really extroverted, but, I mean, I've been working from home for, like, 8-9 years now, I feel like, and I don't know. I'm definitely more introverted, but I kind of like this lifestyle a little bit more.
Yeah.
I got it all out at Texas State.
That's
I was
crazy.
kind of a dog, and I'm kind of glad I'm not anymore.
That's wild. Because yeah, I mean, like that's what I want is to just be able to wake up, and I'm sure you have some kind of schedule, right, in your daily. But like, you can probably wake up when you want to a certain extent, do what you want during the day, be home. Oh, I gotta go get groceries. Cool. I can't. Like, I'm on a construction job. Like, we gotta be 8 to 4, baby. There's no leeway there. Like, maybe there is a little bit, but that's the goal, is to be able to just be like, oh, I'm gonna wake up at 11 tomorrow. Like, cool. I'm gonna watch a movie at lunch and have Grubhub drop off and just chill here. Like, whatever the case may be. I'm like, that's fucking freedom, man. And I brought it up with the other guys, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I look at these other countries like Sweden or Switzerland where it's like mandatory that you have 2 to 4 months off, and I'm assuming you get to the 4 once you're after 50 or whatever. They're like, yeah, we get 4 months off. You guys don't? I'm like, yeah, I get 10 days a year off from my job and weekends or whatever too. But it's just wild that we live in this, I don't know.
America's the only one that does it.
Yeah.
I travel a lot. I mean, their work ethic is. I think we're leaning more towards it, where it's like, hey, if you can get your job done in 3 hours, who gives a shit how, the 40-hour work week kind of thing is.
Exactly how I feel.
But I mean, even in my shoes, I wake up at 9. I mean, I can wake up at 10 if I wanted to, but I don't know, you start feeling like, oh, I should be doing something, I should be productive, or I should be, trying to go get some more sales or whatever it may be, when in reality, I don't have to. So it's kind of more like a mental thing that, like, this hustle culture's kind of come out, where it's like, hustle, hustle, Gary V's pitching this garage sale shit. And I do think it's needed in those earlier years to kind of get you in that mode.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't need to do that anymore. It's the same reason I got off Adderall.
Yeah.
When I was taking Adderall, I was working 80 hours a week, hustling, like, super hardcore, not making nearly what I do now, but it kind of set me up for where I'm at now, where I thought I needed Adderall still, but when I got off it, I'm like, this is fucking nice. I never actually needed that shit. So, but yeah, it's probably going to get worse. I mean, people are going back to the office now these days, too, which I would do. If I were to restart what I was doing, I would go work at an agency in-house. I mean, if you can't get a job at Facebook, that's hard to do. I would just go work for an agency, learn all their systems, do it for a year or two, get the expertise you need, and shit, go off on your own. Because, I mean, it's fun being your own boss.
I don't think I'm going to do Hughes hockey. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. I was like, I don't make any money. Sweet.
Especially when it's all virtual. Like, everything I do is digital. I mean, I can't sell what I currently have because I'm the entity, so to speak. But, I mean, it's fun. I'll do it for like 4 or 5 more years, and then I'll probably go off and do like software somewhere, or build a new product or something fun.
Well, I guess I've never really asked any of the other guys, but like, did you grow up in Houston? Okay, and like, I think I always look at that like, I guess all of us are kind of localish to Texas, I assume, from us at Texas State, but like, you grew up in Houston, like, how did that set you up for the next steps in your life? Was it like, oh shit, this is like a hard-nosed city, or like hustle, like you said, kind of culture? Like, what'd you take from Houston and went on to? Like, how was it growing up in Houston? I lived there. My dad played for the Arrows for 2 years, and I was like, oh my God, there's so much humidity. Like, what the fuck? And then just like culture change, right? I think we came from Long Island, so it's way different, right? You're coming from Long Island to Houston. I'm like, this is a big freaking city, dude. Like, what's going on? Like,
yeah, I fucking hate Houston. I mean, I was telling you, I had Christmas this weekend, and it's fucking February, just because I'm like, I just hate going back there. I'm kind of a shitty son at the end of the day, but therapy's helping that out. But no, I mean, Houston was cool. I mean, it's blowing up like crazy. I think what molded me the most, and it's funny with Texas State, I applied to like Yale, Harvard, just for shits and I knew I wasn't gonna make it, and like I really wanted to go to Boulder. It was Colorado State, and then Texas State was the last one standing, and I got in, so I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Which was the best 4 years of my life without a doubt. I was ready to get out of there, but it was a great pick, and I mean, I think everything I learned was through my dad. He was just a hard-working real estate guy, but what made me kind of crazy, I think, was my parents got divorced. I had to see my dad for a long time, and then he went off the deep end, just a lot of drugs and alcohol, and he played poker. He was and he was great. He got kicked out of a lot of casinos for just winning too big and stuff. So he had
can't be here. You can't take.
He had a really crazy life, but I remember I was maybe 14 or 15, and at his house he would have like girls there who were strippers cleaning the ceilings and shit, and there was one, and he's like, her name is Spider, and she's fucking in this corner cleaning the ceiling, and I'm like, holy shit, she's an actual spider. So I mean, I had a really weird upbringing, but I think it set me up for who I am. My therapist loves when I talk about it and stuff, and when I go to like, I do a lot of like self-development kind of camps and like masterminds with other marketers, so like hack your business to the next level and stuff. And honestly, for me, I have the business stuff so down. What everybody's like, you got to figure out, your past and like how to, I guess, recognize your issues now are all from past trauma. Essentially, when I'm like, I don't have past trauma. I had a badass life, but they're like, it's playing a bigger role than you think it is. And I'm like, I guess, but it's fun. I'm just in that weird phase of just trying to figure out what I want in life.
I was like, that was another point I had on the board. It was like, your dad. That dude's a fucking legend, man. Like, I don't know much about him. I just see him randomly, and he'll come just chill with me. Like, I think I was on my tailgate one day, and you were still getting undressed inside. And he's like, what's up, here's you. I'm like, oh, shit, dude, I haven't seen you since the hotel where Connor punched holes in the walls
Oh
in
my God.
freaking College Station. I'm like, that's wild. Like, but he's always been a cool dude. I only get a couple words with him every week. But, like, go into that a little bit. Like, I know you went in, like, the guy went off the deep end for a little bit there, but like I'm sure he did some good things too. You said real estate's where he made his money.
Oh, he
and
did.
Then went to poker. Or?
Yeah. Well, he was always a little bit of a gambler. My grandpa ended up losing our family fortune gambling on horses back in Albany and Buffalo, New York, because that's where all my family's from originally. And my dad hitchhiked from up there to down to Texas. I'm sleeping in, houses getting built with his best friend Gary, and they both became wildly successful. And my dad just knew real estate really well, so he would just buy a lot of land. I think at one time he had like 40 or 50 different houses. He would buy them for 70 or 80K. Granted, this was probably the 70s maybe, I would think. And they had crazy rates then, like 7 and 8%, and that was normal. But yeah, no, and he was just a big work ethic guy. But me and him have a lot of things in common. Is that like we have these goals and we hit them, and it's like that's not enough. What's the next thing? And that's one of my biggest issues. Is I've done a lot of things I said I wanted to do, and I've never really felt accomplished or like, hey, I hit that goal. Pat on the back. I've never really felt that, and it's got to be from him. But I wouldn't change it for the world because I'm here and I'm alive and I'm doing pretty darn good. But now he lives with my grandma. She's blind in one eye. She's probably losing her ear or two. She's had like 6 surgeries on her eye and shit. But I feel for him, man. She's quite a handful.
Where's that at?
That's in the Woodlands.
Okay.
So yeah, they're still in Houston. But no, he plays poker every once in a while. He doesn't have the money like he used to. He got fucked in the divorce. And that's why I've been so scared to get married. Is
oh my goodness.
They have to appraise everything and like make it more liquid. So he had to sell so much land that he could have made tens of millions off of, and only made probably a tenth of that because he had to sell it on a certain time period, and same with all of his homes and shit. So
Give her a cut.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I have
Well, I'm the same way. Let me tell you another bad story about my life. My mom to this day gets my dad's pension, half of it from the NHL.
Shit.
So I think the NHLs get to play 365 games or something for the pension. I would assume it's around 65K a year.
How many years is that? 360-ish?
I mean, yeah, my dad wasn't an every game player either. So there's 82 games. Say he played 50. So then you do the math on that, and you're like, okay, so I would say 8 years.
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that. So he gets that pension, and my mom, since they got divorced, she got half the house, all that bullshit too. But then continually, and probably, but like, that's crazy, dude. She never touched the ice. She never got punched in the face multiple times by Ty Domi. So it's like, dude, she's taking, and then he was paying child support. I have 3 younger sisters. I was already out of the house, nothing with me. But like all that child support in Texas.
Where did he
play? He was with the Boston Bruins, Washington Capitals, Buffalo Sabres, Winnipeg Jets. He was all over the East Coast mostly on those teams. And then started coaching the Ice Bats and like whatever. Now he's coaching my old junior B team up in Canada. But like he's literally got to keep those jobs because the pension's only half of what it's supposed to be. So like he's getting paid $55,000 up in Canada. His team, I looked up the stat last night. His team's 39-5. 39-5. Do you know what the Ice Bats are? Like 3-42. Like it's like, bro, like your teams are opposite now. But yeah, just to like be able to like subsidize that, I guess, or cut out. Like my mom's getting half of that every year, dude, for eternity. Or like whenever it cuts out, I think 65 or something like that, or maybe that's when you can take out the most or take a lump sum out.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that sucks, dude. Like, and I'm not saying that's the only reason I haven't popped the question to anybody. My mom had me at like 17, so I kind of wanted to stop that trend in a way. Like I think my sister had her kid at 28 or 29. It's like, okay, that's your age, and you got like some footing. Like And I feel like I'm doing the same thing as my mom, right? Like at 32, she had 4 kids. I'm 33, and then she's like going out to bars, like trying to make up for lost time. And you see my stories on Instagram. I'm just going to raves every other day. It's like, I'm just trying to make up for all. Oh, I'm shooting pucks in the garage for 4 hours a day. Oh, I didn't make it. Fuck. Like, so now I'm like, I gotta make up for lost time and dance my ass off and do all this shit because I feel like, I don't know, just the lifestyle that I had, I assume I'm not going to have as much time as other people. I think the internals are probably going to shut down around 55, 60. So I'm like, I might as well just fucking blow it out now and just have a great time.
Got a question for you on that.
Yeah.
So, if you were able to have that neuro implant that Musk is doing and cyborg legs and cyborg internals and shit to, prolong your life 30 or 40 years, would you do it?
I think so. Like, I've recently learned there's like Dr. Death was on Theo Vaughn. He's just a guy that does like investigations into like near-death experiences and stuff. And they seem to think that there's a fifth dimension, which is like when you're done, your conscious doesn't leave this planet. It kind of stays here in a fifth dimension. So that gave me a lot of solace. Like, oh, okay, like that's all I'm worried about because all the concussions and the bullshit that I've done, the drinking, and maybe hit my head once or twice that I didn't know about, like when I pass out at night or something, right? So I get freaked out about it. The fifth dimension made me feel a little bit better, but the Neuralink stuff, like to fix blindness and like those kind of things, like please, like I don't want that to have, like that would suck not to be able to hear or see anymore. I'm sure like with your grandma too, you're like, oh fuck, can we get one of those real quick? Can we do a little test? We'll bring her to the Tesla plant. But yeah, so like
plug her in.
I would, just because I love this ride, and I think that's the only reason that I lost the 70 pounds too, was like, hey man, we kind of blew it out in college, and then once I realized, hey, I'm not going to make the NHL or do anything with this, like I just said fuck it and didn't work out, didn't do anything. I just shut the whole plant down, which you can't do. So now I'm trying to do all the supplements, working out, playing men's league, coaching kids, just to keep my head off of like drink, like that's the worst thing. But if I could get an extra 20 or 30, and I don't know what those cost, maybe it's $100,000 or something like that, I would like to do that. And also, losing this weight and stuff, I had a night here where I just got blackout drunk on tequila, and I'm talking to myself in the living room. I'm like, hey man, if you want to do this, like I'll go down with the ship with you. But I call myself Patrick, and everyone else does. That's my middle name when I'm drunk. That's Patrick, because I say shit, I do stupid shit that I'm not supposed to, right? And so I'm talking with Patrick in the living room, like, hey man, I'll go down with the ship. Captain my captain, right? But like, we can turn this around still. It's not too late. You're 220, like 220 pounds. Not that bad. We can get back to like 190, 200. Like that's a doable. We gotta start stacking wins and stacking workouts and like get our shit going towards that. So that's where I'm like, okay, hopefully in my 50s and 60s, if I keep this up, I'm not going to be a bag of milk and just be like, oh, I can't like play with the, I'm not grandkids at 55, but I can't play with my kids or like do anything. And I want to play in men's league for the rest of my life. Hopefully they don't kick, might have to be in a 65 and older league eventually, but like, I love that I think I'm better than I was at Tech, and I've lost the weight and stuff like that, but at 34, I think I'm better at hockey than I've ever been. I can't really go anywhere with that. No one's giving me a fucking tryout, but just the mentality and like how quick I can figure out situations.
Hockey
where
smarts.
So like all that adds up, and I wish I fucking had it at 18, but like that's not the way it goes, right? So I would take it and say there was a red pill, blue pill. If the red one's 30 years and the other one's like just regular course, I'd probably take it because I don't know, man. I don't know if that fifth dimension exists, so I guess I might as well ride this fucking train as long as it goes and get off at the last stop. So that's how I feel. Like, what do you think? Would you do it, or are you like skeptical?
Oh, in a heartbeat, I would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would have fun with it. I mean, it's interesting, because it's gonna have a lot of cool perks. We're gonna find out within 10 years of how legit it is. I mean, stem cells in Tijuana are fucking legit. You just gotta cross the border. I mean, we have some really cool technology. I have a brain tumor. I found out. So we had a game at A&M. Did you ever know Sassy Pants? He had an orange Mustang back at Texas State. I forgot his fucking name. I forgot his real name.
He's like a social media guy?
No, that's what we called him. His name is maybe Miles. He had a real boxy head. If you're watching this, sorry, dude. It was one of Dom's best friends. But he rear-ended me when we were leading an A&M game, and I ended up nailing my steering wheel, and I ended up breaking my nose, and I got a CAT scan. And
face first into your steering wheel?
Because it was my old Camaro, and I never had airbags.
Jesus Christ, I never heard of it. Damn.
And yeah, I got a CAT scan. They found something on my head, and they're like, "Oh, you have a brain tumor," and it's benign. So like I got like maybe 8 to 10 MRIs, and they were like, "It's 50-50. We should like remove it or keep it going." And we were like, "Let's just keep it going," as it seems like it's been there for a while. But I've been having more pains recently in my head. and I'm like kind of paranoid and shit now. Or I'm like
headaches or
yeah, and like it feels like my head's more swollen and really tender and shit. And I'm sure pucks to the head probably don't help.
Yeah.
But no, I get a little paranoid here and there. But like, even today, I just finally got a new referral to a new neurosurgeon, so I'm getting back in the swing of things. But I can't. This was 2013, so I can't find any of my old documents and like scans. So I'm like, I'm basically starting from scratch. But if they were like, let's remove this and put this chip in there, I would do it. I think.
Because like I remember one time you just like kept throwing up on the ice, and I'm not really seeing a goalie. Like I was like, oh fuck, he's really working hard, and I'm like, no, this is something else. I think that's along with it. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like he's got a brain tumor. I'm like, oh shit, like you got to drop that. We're mid game. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like now I'm like going extra hard in the corners to make sure you're not getting too many shots. And I'm like, fuck.
I don't know what that was in college. I think I just partied really hard and did a lot of drugs. Because I mean, it would turn into a thing. Even at practice, if I would overwork myself, I'd just go throw up real quick.
Then the starter too. It's not like we're gonna put the other guy in. So it's like you're getting the majority of shots. We're going a little harder at you too, ringing it off your dome. Like probably not going as hard on the back. It was like Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean there were a couple seasons where I was the only goalie, so it's like, buckle up, boys. You know, you got one of me. I remember my first game we played, I think UNT, and I think we lost like 13-1, and I'm like, this is not going to be as fun as I thought it was going to be. But it's what you were mentioning earlier. If I had the hockey smarts I have now, I feel like I'm so much better now than I was in college. It's stupid. This season's been kind of wonky because I ended up tearing my hamstring, so I've still kind of been nursing that. I probably started a little bit early, but I mean, we're the two-time champs right now. We got a game on Wednesday, so I'm trying to make it a three-peat.
Is that for the championship, or is it a series of 3?
I think it's the semifinals. So I think we play high sticks. And I was most worried about playing y'all, because y'all are the only ones who really had our numbers for this season. So I'm
we
like,
just weirdly win games sometimes. Like, oh, we'll turn it on, and we're better with 9 than 13. That's what fucked us up. I'm like, God damn it. We got these kids that never fucking show up. They're UT players. I'm like, how many white helmets do we have out here? And they just fuck it all up. And do you see the penalty we got on the power play with 2 minutes left? Too many men? What the fuck? I was like, what is happening? What? And we should have never been in that game. You guys were up 5-1. It got to 7-6. Nail scored 4 goals in a row.
Yeah.
I'm like,
high glove, and I'm like, it's not gonna happen again. Then it fucking happened again. And I'm like, God damn it, dude.
There was one where he just whipped it. And I'm like, that's not even Nails. I think like Jesus took the wheel or something and just took his stick and ripped it top shelf. I'm like, God damn, Nails.
I was so glad y'all got that penalty at the end, because I'm like, I think we had 5 or 6 penalties before that. I'm like, dude, and I don't mind Atkinson. I like him. I'm a nice guy on the ice. I mean, I'm just a nice goalie as a whole. But yeah, no, I can see why the other goalie was pissed, because like when you let in 5 or more, and if you lose, it's like a double fuck you. Yeah. I mean, I was still pretty pissed. I'm like, we won. It counts.
I couldn't. I was like, this is, and like the only reason we got that penalty is because we moved a guy from D up to forward, but then he changed, so a forward and a D came off at came on the ice at the same time, and I'm ready for like a 1T on you. I'm like going top blocker. I'm gonna get this bitch to tie this up, and then burp, too many. I'm like, you guys are killing me. And
that was like 3 minutes left too.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we just shot ourselves in the foot. But we should have never been in that game. So like realistically, we'd have gone lost the next series. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I try harder against people I know, so I'm sure y'all are probably in the same boat. Like, I really want to snipe Dylan. No. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you just really want to fuck him up.
Yeah, and I'm cognizant not to hit you in the head as well. Like, I'm like, if I'm friends with you, so I'm like, if I'm gonna rip this, fucking make sure it's not going right into the fucking middle, or like pick a corner. Don't do like in that game. I went back on the penalty kill and I grabbed the puck, and Maddox like, heads up. I'm like, dude, I can control the puck better than anybody on this fucking ice surface. So I just rimmed it around his head, not directly at him. Like, thank you. I'm like, yeah, no, you think, but I get it if it's somebody else. Like Benoit goes back there and gets it, and he just pegs him in the neck, and the guy goes down. So I'm like, dude, like, but yeah, I was like, I kind of felt like shamed by him. I was like, bro, come on, man, it's me.
Of
like,
all people, too, yeah.
Like, I should have rang it off of him. I had a game, AA, where they asked me to sub. They had like 5 players. So I just finished the game, and they're like, oh, come on the other side. So I bring a beer, and so I'm going on skating across during a break. Maddox just starts ripping me a new one in front of everybody. He's like, what the fuck, Husey? You're bringing a beer on the ice? Fucking have some professionalism. I'm like, what? This is beer league. Like, I'm helping out this team. I wanted
10-15.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on here? And then I get to the bench, they're like, no, we're good, dude. I'm like, you're good. Nails texted me and said you guys had 5 players, or 7. I was like, And they're like, yeah, we're good. So then I just skate right back off, and I chug the beer all the way in Maddox's face, all over the ice. I'm spilling it. It's going all over my jersey. And I just go back to my locker room, like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I went to a game, and they told me no. And the ref called me out. Sick.
On
Like,
the bench. It's fucking nuts.
I was like, he's like, hide it. Put it in your pants. I'm like, what? Like, this is beer league. And I wish you could walk around, but there's fucking cement and shit. You can't get all the way around. But I was like, this guy. So I thought about it when he said, no.
Is this the Cedar Park rink?
Yeah, crossover. So, like, that was the big thing this year. Like I said, I bit off more than I could chew. I'm like, hey, let's stop drinking. Let's reel it back in. Did 3 months to reset all the neurological stuff. Just saw it on TikTok. So I'm like, guess we'll do that. Fixed my whole life. Got everything back together. But I just bit off more because, like, Nails was like, hey, come play in our men's league. It'll keep you distracted. I'm like, okay, cool. So now I'm Wednesday, Thursday, coaching kids Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I'm coaching in Dallas on the weekends. I'm like, oh, buddy, like, you shouldn't have done this to yourself. And now I'm just like burnt the fuck out. Next week start playoffs, and I know we're not gonna make the championship or whatever it might be. Maybe we get to the semis. That'd be awesome.
Is it competitive at that age?
Yeah, it is. And it's just weird because it's just like men's league too. Like 14-year-olds can turn it on when they want, and then the kids in Dallas are gonna kick our fucking asses. So that's the problem. Like you look at the top 4 in our league, and it's just Dallas teams. It's like, okay, cool, they should be there. And it's like we're towards the end, and it's A2. It's not like AAA or anything like that. Like
Is A2 AA?
yeah, no. So A2, I would call it like B, if you will. So like there's A1 and A2. So like I'm like, okay, we're like a B team kind of, if you want to call it that. But yeah, the worst part is our goaltending. So the Mallards, they took 3 goalies that are 6 foot tall. Those are the best goalies in Austin.
14?
For our age group. So but they're a private team. They don't even play in the Dallas Stars elite program. So like they don't have a championship to go win. They can turn a tournament team, if you will, right? But they have 3 goalies that are 6 foot tall, and like we got the 2 little runts of the pack, and like we're just happy we got them. But the backup we have is just a liability. I can't put him in, and our other goal, I'm sure you can attest to this. Once 2 or 3 goes in, like he's not saying fuck it, but you're in your own head, and then just things get away from you really quickly. So that's what I'm worried about. I mean, it sucks. And the first game is at 3:15 on Friday. I'm like, I can't take off work. I'm like, Joe, you're on your own, bro. Like, I'll come up that night and we play the next morning at 7:15 or whatever. But like, fuck, Joe's got the work truck, so all the gas and mileage is free. I'm like, shit, my shitty car. I just put $5,000 into the new transmission. I'm gonna drive to Dallas and possibly get it broken into. Like, take the car, please. The key's stuck in the ignition, so I'm just like, please take it so I can get insurance money. Like, so stupid.
Dude, cars are a pain.
No, it's really stupid. Okay, so my mom's got these dogs coming up. What do you think? You see my lifestyle recently. Do you think I should get one of these dogs?
Once you not quit hockey, but like slim up on it, I don't see why not.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, it's a lot just at the beginning, I would assume. Like, and I haven't, like, Grizz lived until he was 12 years old, and then that was like a year ago. I'm like, fuck, I'm kind of like lonely here. Like, the cat's cool, but the cat's not going to give you the affection a dog will, or want to be in the bed with you and snuggle up, or whatever it is. So with the 2 dogs, you tell me which one I should pick, boy or girl, right? That's all I'm asking. There's 2 girls left in the litter, and there's like 5 guys left in the litter. So the girl dog, she's a white girl dog, Lulu. She's like super like just scared of everything, and like, but chill and like loving. So I'm like, okay, cool. Should I get a girl? I've never had a girl dog myself. And then the boy, Gus, he's just way too much, dude. And it's all about training the dog as well,
Yep.
right? But that's what worries me. I'm like, either I'm going to get a really timid girl that'll love me, or I'm going to have a boy that's just rambunctious, but also about training them. So I'm like, what do I go with? Like, what's your experience with dogs, I guess?
Oh, I have a terrible experience with dogs.
Shit.
I'd go girl personally. I mean, whatever dog I'm gonna get next, I'm gonna send off for training for 3 or 4 months. Either way, my buddy just bought 2 golden retrievers for like $10K each. They only speak German. But he's also like, I don't want to do the puppy stage. It's cute, it's fun, I get it, but it's not for me at this because he's got 2 kids now.
And like all this stuff I have, all these wires, I'm like, oh my god, like you're gonna ruin my life. And I'm crate train, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm just like an overly planner, so I wanted to wait till we got a house to get a dog. We got the house. We ended up getting a dog at Austin Pets Alive. Next thing you know, the dog has distemper, which is similar to parvo. And like, she had a 10% chance to live. So we only had her for a month and a half, and our whole house turned into a vet. I was waking up at 3 a.m. to inject her with these different medications and shit, and we get to see every single day she would get worse and worse, and her legs would give out, and it was the worst thing you could possibly imagine, especially with how big of a planner I am. I'm like, perfect time, perfect scenario, and it ended up kind of just causing a lot of friction in the relationship too, because it just involves so much support that, like, we've had dogs, but they weren't our dogs, they were like family dogs.
Yeah.
So now we're just doing so much work, and I remember the day we were like, we can't do anymore. It's kind of fucking us up. And APA was giving us free shit. I didn't trust them though, so I brought her to specialists, and they were like, yeah, you have a very low chance. And Janelle was like, let's do everything we can, and we did. For free adopt a dog, the amount of money I spent on that thing was fucking nuts. I think it came out to like $300 a day for the month we had her, a month and a half maybe. Because there were some clinics I took her to that were $500 a day. And so I wanted to get the best support, but I remember the day we were like, we need to bring her to APA. We can't, she wouldn't even move. And the next night after we dropped her off, we got a call from them. They're like, hey, she took a turn for the worse. We'd recommend coming in. So we went in like at 11 p.m. that night. They have their own little center because it'll fuck up the other dogs, and they had to keep them separate. And she was wrapped up in a little ball, and she couldn't even see us. I remember opening up her eyes a little bit, and they were just ice white, like the color of these fucking lights. And it fucked with me a little bit, and she died the next day. So my girlfriend probably would still cry if I told the story right now. I knew whenever I heard about it, I'm like, the odds are pretty slim. I'm pretty good at setting expectations, so I mean, I don't want to say I expected it, but I knew it was going to happen. But it's been about a year and a couple months now, so we're finally ready. I'm probably going to surprise her with a puppy this year at some point.
What kind do you want to get, or is it just up in the air?
Probably like a lab golden retriever.
Okay.
I like those kind of dogs. We wear a lot of black, and I don't want to get a black dog, just like a Rottweiler kind of color, just because I don't want blonde hair all over me and shit. But I also would love to get a German Shepherd.
They're awesome.
And train it to kill. I would look, because I mean, I travel a good amount.
Are you a gun guy?
I am.
Okay, because everybody that comes here is like, you need a gun to protect yourself. I'm like, I'll just get a dog. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know if you had that similar mindset.
Oh, I'm a paranoid motherfucker, and that's because of my dad. I mean, we had pistols under the seats, behind every door, in the couch.
The seats?
Yeah, in the living room and shit. And I'll never forget this one time my dad's like, he was going out to Louisiana to La Berge for a poker tournament, and I think I was 15 or 16. He's like, don't forget I got a revolver here. He's, chambering and everything. He's like, the first round's always empty. And he pulls the trigger and shoots out the window. And he's like, I may have made a mistake here. And I'm like, holy fuck.
Trying to be a cool guy. Just shoots into the night.
I'll never forget. It was so funny. But yeah, no, I gotta get him out. I got a membership at the range. It's like a mile from me, so I'll bring Janelle to get her familiar with it. She's not a big gun person.
Okay, now I know where you live then. If you went to the
range.
Yeah. Okay, I drive past it all the time.
I'm right off Grand Avenue Parkway. Yep.
Yeah, okay, I know you're at.
Yeah, so I'm right there, and I like it over there. It's quiet. My neighbors are 90 years old and shit.
Damn.
It's a cozy area.
When was the house built then?
In 96.
Okay, it's not too bad. I guess it's a pretty new area too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would buy a house that was built 2015 or later. And her parents were in construction and shit, so they're like, here's what to look for. And then my dad's real estate, he's like, here's what to look for. And I'm just like, I have so many people like, here's what to do. And I'm like, I just don't care. But it's nice having that kind of support and shit. But I'm definitely a gun guy and a dog guy. I love dogs. Like, we're always the dog sitters of our friend group and shit, so like, we enjoy it. We're really planners. We have a turtle. She's kind of a bitch, though.
Tortoise or turtle?
Yellow belly slider. She's an aqua turtle, water turtle.
So do you have to like a pond in the back? Or?
No, we have like I think 100-gallon tank.
Damn. How big is that?
So the price size of that table over there, maybe 3 feet tall.
Dang. Filled to the tits with water?
Probably halfway.
Okay.
And we have little cool stuff in there, and it's funny because that podcast I was telling you about, I had a guy on there, and he's like, you should get a pet. And I'm like, we're going to wait to get a dog till we get a house. He's like, oh, would you want something? I'm like, yeah, probably. He goes, cool. This was later in the call, and he's like, I'm going to send you 2 packages, open them up at the exact same time. And I'm like, all right. Thought nothing of it. People would send us gifts all the time. Box 1 shows up, and it has an aquarium on the outside. I'm like, it's probably just a placeholder box. You probably just put something else in there in the meantime. And it sat for like 2 weeks, and I was like, hey man, when's this next box showing up? And he goes, oh cool, you got the first one. I go out to Pluckers with Joe, actually, and we slammed some beers, and I had a good buzz. And this was like at 11:45 or maybe 12, I don't even know, because I had a call right when I got home, and there was a box on my front door, and it said a reptile. And I'm like, fuck me, dude. So I open it up, and there's a turtle in a little queso cup that, from, I guess, Florida, that you can mail turtles and shit. And I'm like, this is terrible. I got a good buzz, and I'm like, I need to set this tank up right now and shit. And I called my client. I'm like, hey man, some shit just came up. I had a turtle show up at the door. He's like, what? And I'm like, I'll explain it later. Can we talk in like an hour or two? He's like, yeah. So that's how we ended up coming across we call her PK, Peekaboo for short.
Oh, I thought you were going to PK Subban or
Fuck
something. I was
no.
like, please don't tell me that's what you named it after.
God,
I
yeah.
love PK Subban. He's the best player
Best
ever.
defenseman, ever. No, hell no.
They said like the other day, like Nashville Predators, all, like like just hyped him up. Like, no, he was good in Montreal. Like, he was not killing it in Nashville. Like, he was a good player, but like that trade, they got fleeced. Like, Shea Weber is so much better than him. Like, why he becomes a captain? I know like some injuries came up in the finals or whatever for him, but like, god damn, I love Shea Weber. He played for the Kelowna Rockets. My buddy Joey.
He had the hardest slap shot too for a couple
Yeah,
years.
he like him and Char, and then Char's gone. He's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna take this bitch back
How
over.
big is Weber? Is he a big dude?
I want to say he's like 6'4", but just beefy, like just a big dude. So he was on the Kelowna Rockets with Jamie Benn and just a laundry list of players. You know, it was in Kelowna. That's what they do in those leagues. Like, hey, we're hosting the championships. You automatically get in, even if you suck during the season. So if you do suck, and they didn't, but they just started stacking more and more players. And it's like, all right, cool. They're just doing trades almost every week to just get rid of their trash guys and bring in new guys. And then they just ripped it up and just, Jamie went on and everybody, like, literally the top 10 players on that team are first-line players in the NHL for multiple years. Like, it's insane. So I've always loved Shea, and I have a connection there in Kelowna with them. The worst story I have about Kelowna, actually, I don't know if I've said this on any other podcast, I was like 6 years old, and I'm out there swimming, and I put my goggles on, I look down, and there's a girl's head. So my buddy Dan was just here, and he's like, hey, man, we should go camping next weekend in Dallas. I'm like, I am not going camping ever again. Like, dude, like, first we get there, and my dad's like, hey, what soda do you want? I'm like, I don't care, whatever sodas are all the same. He goes and gets fucking Barks root beer. And I'm like, a 24-pack of Barks root beer? I'm like, dude, like, 24 back then, like, we're not chugging them, but, say I have 2 pops a day or whatever, and we're there for 3-4 days. I'm like, this sucks. I'm, like, drinking, like, hose water and shit. Like, so just PTSD out the ass about Kelowna. What's the best compliment anyone's given you? I feel like it's got to be hair or beard related.
Nah. I mean, yeah, I do get Chris Evans. I'll go to parties and I'm like, yeah, he's a good-looking dude. I'm cool with that. It's shockingly not even related to appearance. It's like you're a super, not emotional guy, but you're really in tune, I guess, with other people's emotion. I'm good at showing, like, empathy and sympathy and whatnot. So, I mean, and I'm really open-minded. And that was a good compliment to be recognized for, I guess. Because, I mean, I'm a pretty easygoing guy and whatnot. But, I mean, I'm super open-minded. I mean, I might stick to my guns in some way, but, I mean, if I know there's another solution or alternative, I'm all ears for kind of hearing that. So, but no, it's funny you bring up the beard. I learned I have this disorder, and I get stressed, and I kind of fiddle with this, and I'll start pulling my fucking hair out. So, like, normally it'll be, like, covered, but, like, I can see I'm losing hair in this area because I get stressed at the desk. I'll be on a call, and I'm, like, doing this, and I'll pull fucking hair out. And so I have all these fucking fidget spinners and stupid fidgeting things to try and, like, relieve that stuff, but I appreciate that.
I feel like I'm slowly getting to that stage of, like you're saying, empathy and whatnot. Because back in the day, I'm like, I'm a savage. I'm going to fuck everybody up. I'm the fucking... I'm just being my dad is all I'm trying to do, right? You're trying to press that guy. Oh, I beat someone up to dad. Like, did you do uppercut? Like, no. Like, we got to do uppercut. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Can I get a compliment back here? Like,
You gotta break his nose.
So, yeah, I'm like, fuck, man. But now it's like, everyone's going through it. Like, when we go out to 6th Street or whatever the other night, like, all these meth heads and just the shit you see out there at raves, everyone's on some kind of drug, right? And you're just like, oh, man, people are really going through it. And I assume COVID did a lot of that, right? Like, it's kind of fucked a lot of shit up. Like, working from home kind of isolates you and, like, whatever happened to these people. And, like, my buddy's like, this is fucking wild because he's never been to a rave. So it's like, okay, well, I just did this for 4 years. It's like kind of like a bachelor party, I guess, like kind of impromptu kind of situation. But I noticed that now, like, hey, everyone's battling their own demons and stuff like that. But before, I'm like, fuck that guy, he's a fucking loser, came up out of nowhere and said that to me. It's like, yeah, dude, he's probably he's got a fat ass wife at home that's not sucking his dick. Like, you gotta think about other people, like what they're going through. And you just look at someone with a bad body or something, and you're like, okay, well, that guy's, stress eating or like whatever it might be. And back in the day, I'm like, this fucking fat fuck. Like, so that's something I've really tried to tune in on. It's like, damn, dude, like, you're not the only one going through shit, man. Like, you didn't make the NHL? Cool. Who gives a fuck? Like, to me, right? But other people, right? Maybe they just got fired from their accounting job and they go out and they tie it on too much and they're fucking blacked out and they're yelling at some dude, but it's not about that dude he's yelling at, it's about him. Like, I always look at it like, so for me, moment of truth here, when I lost all this weight and like had to figure it all out, it's like it comes down to you, right? There's a common denominator, and why I blame my family. Oh, they didn't support me enough, and that's not true, right? It's just me making that up in my brain. Excuse, excuse, excuse. And people will be like, "Oh man, like you should, like your dad, you played in the NHL. He should have given you more opportunities." But he also was a guy that was like, "Hey, you got to figure this shit out. I'm not just gonna fucking put this on a platter for you,
Yep.
fucking t-ball it up, and you hit a home run, right? You got to go through your own shit." Same thing with fighting. Like I'm like, "Hey, like give me some pointers. Or should I go boxing lessons?" He's like, "No, fucking just go out there, get your ass kicked a few times, figure it out." Like my first fight, it sucked, dude. So we're in the Burnaby tryouts, and I'm 17, right?
Where's Burnaby?
Burnaby's right outside of Vancouver.
Okay.
Like Burnaby Joe is where Joe Sakic's from. So we with the rink we were at was on Joe Sakic Way, like whatever. And so I'm in this game, and this big dude, he must have been 6'6". Maybe I'm thinking he's 7'2" at the time, right? I'm looking up at this bitch.
He's a Rempy out there, that new guy.
Yeah, that dude's awesome.
He's a giant.
I love that.
Yeah.
He's a rookie fighting in the Stadium Series game first shift. Like, what a badass dude. Like, at least make your mark, and then maybe you don't make it. But his size and his demeanor, I think he will. But this guy's calling everybody out. Dude, he's going through our bench. You little pussies. Like, just going. I'm like, fucking my dad's in the stands. Like, I'm like, no, not me. And so I'm like, hey, you want one? At the face-off, he's like, really, dude? I'm like, I guess so, dude. I had, like, shaved head back then, like, balled it up. And so I go out there, and, dude, I just grab on, and he just punches me in the head, I don't know, 40 times before the ref gets in. And I get off, and, like, there's a trainer girl that takes me to the back. She's like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And, like, I'm just lumps on the top of my head. I'm like, did I do good? And she's like, no, honey, you did really bad. But, like, it was, like, you got balls on you, right? Like, that's cool that I have that story to tell. But I'm like, dude, like, please help me. But then, going back to all that bullshit, common denominator was me. Like, hey, you fucked up your relationship. You drank too much. You bitched at your girl. Guess what? She's going to leave at some point, and she did. And like, hey, man, maybe I should have taken care of my dog's teeth more, like given him better food or something. He died, I think, a little prematurely. Like, I was thinking, 15, 16 years with him. And I know that's kind of unrealistic, but I kind of blame myself too. But going back to that, it's like I'm the common denominator here. Like, and so we have a dad on the team that's been kicked out of multiple organizations, and he's like, oh man, like these fucking coaches suck. Joe and Kyle, they're the problem. Like, no, dude, you're the fucking problem. Like, why'd you get kicked out of San Antonio? Why'd you get kicked out of the Mallards? Why are you coming back to TJS after you were kicked out multiple years ago? Like, there's a common denominator here, and it's a big gulp, right? You gotta go, hey, it's me, and like a lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, I feel like you got to get beat the shit out of a little bit in your younger
in life
days.
Too. Like
yeah.
Just business, or you lost some money, right?
Yeah.
Crypto, it's risky. So you got to take those risks and learn from them. And then, hey, next time someone's like, hey, man, fucking great opportunity, give me 50 G's. You're like, oh, hold on, let me see the fucking financial reports here. Like, yeah. So I always think about that. Like, it's just common denominators. You fucking, that's on you. So I had to do a lot of internal work on that. And maybe I should have got a therapist. Like, what do you think about that? I just don't want to pay for it.
I was literally about to talk about that.
Like, I just don't want to pay for it. Even, like, the online ones where like, oh, yeah, you don't have to have your camera on. You can just, I'm like, somebody's going to fucking videotape me and send it out. Like, I'm nobody. But still, I don't want that. I know you'd probably get in trouble if they did do that. But I'm like, I see all those, every podcast, like, hey, better help, whatever. And I'm like, should I?
Those are good alternatives. Yeah, so I mean, that's literally what I was going to say next. I think I've been in therapy for 2 years now, and I think that leveled me up the most. And originally, it was because I wanted my girlfriend to get it, because she has a lot of, past trauma I won't get into. But I was like, you should totally talk to somebody. She's like, it's so hard to find somebody you kind of, have good energy with and you can kind of jive with and have a good vibe. And I'm like, and I pushed her on it for like 6 months to a year. And I got to a point where I'm like, is it really that fucking hard? So I was like, let's see how hard it is for me to get a therapist. And the third guy I talked to, I freaking loved. And my biggest thing is I do so many virtual calls. I half-ass on them, so I wanted to do it all face-to-face, which is more expensive. But dude, yeah, I did it weekly. I think it was $220 a week. So I was paying a good amount for it. Now I do it monthly now. But dude, it just helped me kind of, really recognize my issues I was kind of going through it, and it really helped level me up. So I don't know if you know this, but I have a kid.
Oh shit! I
did
not.
He is 7 years old.
Holy fuck!
Yeah, so like I would have never shared that to anybody I know, but I mean, because it was such a dark, it was at fucking Texas State, obviously, but they're in Illinois, and I just had a real bad taste in my mouth because the circumstances were not great, and I felt like I got fucked over. But at the end of the day, I don't want the kid to turn out shitty, so I am involved there now. But it's just some weird shit, and I think therapy was a really good opening for me. And even with all these marketing events I go to where I'm like, hey, I want good tax advice, investment advice, and like, dude, you're set up, you're doing everything right. You got to figure out why you want this stuff. And I'm like, I just want money. I don't really have a reason for why I want it, whether it's, you know, to have a family or just to make the next SpaceX or whatever it may be. I don't know what it is yet. So this is the year where it's a big self-development year where I'm doing a course this weekend called Ascension Leadership Academy. It's kind of culty, but whatever, I'll probably fit in great. So, I mean, I think therapy was a good pick. And, I mean, I definitely took an expensive option just because I was able to, but I think even BetterHelp is a great way to kind of, you know, get started a little bit. Definitely shop around. Some of those motherfuckers suck, but yeah, no, it's definitely helped talking about some stuff as out loud, I guess, to hear other perspectives.
And that's what I feel like this was. Like, people ask me, like, what are you doing? Like, and I hate the question that I get all the time, like, what's the podcast about? It's called Talks with Friends. Like, what the fuck do you think it's about? You're talking to my friends. And I kind of do this as that, like, almost like and we talk before and after usually, right? So it's kind of like my little therapy session, but, you know, the real reason I did this was like, hey, hopefully one day if I pass away, you can look back at this episode and be like, fuck, me and Hughes had a good time that hour that we did, or whatever, right? And that's why I'm like, let's get the main dogs in here. I don't want just some Joe Schmo coming on here like, oh, I met you at the grocery store last week. You want to be on the podcast? Like, that might come later, but, you know, I think it's selfishly that's why I'm doing it. Like, I want to get my best friend on here, Sarab. I know you're fucking listening. This dude will not come on. He's like, oh, you think you're little Joe Rogan? Like, oh, how much are you going to pay me? I'm not paying you to come over here and hang out with me. Like, dude, come on. But, like, with him, I'm like, dude, just come on, like, so that I have that with you, and then you can look back on that if I tragically pass away in some capacity. Like, I don't know. Like,
and this is so much more fun, too, man, because I even told you in the beginning, I've done so many business podcasts where people are like, tell me about your business, you know, what hacked, you know, to make as much money, and you know, it's fun in the beginning because you just want to flex, but over time, it's just like, I just don't want to talk. I go to marketing events and I tell people I'm an arms dealer or I'm a zookeeper just so they don't fucking ask me about business. And I'd rather talk about, you know, life stuff. It's just way more enjoyable for me at this point. I'm definitely a lay low key in the shadows kind of guy at this point. And
how many episodes did you do that show?
Over 140. And they were all an hour long. And it was fun. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, the guy I did it with was his idea in the beginning. I'm sure I had a good part in the idea, but I knew he was a big wig in the industry I'm in. And for me, it was to get more in front of the people he knew. So, like, all these big names in the marketing industry, I couldn't hit him up and be like, hey, man, come on a podcast. So he would do it, and I would just get to talk to them. You know, it was just to get my name out there. It was earlier in my career. So, I mean, it was a great experience. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of work talking to people.
And, like, did you get a lot of business out of that, say? Like, or 50%? Or you
I fucking wish. Nah. There's still cash pending, unfortunately. But no, it was a good experience. I wouldn't change it for anything. You live and you learn.
And you said you just got burnt out, and you're like, fuck
this.
Oh,
big time. Yeah, because, I mean...
Did he want to keep going, or did he?
Oh, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, he did want to keep going, but no, once I said, I'm like, I'm over this shit. He's like, okay, I get it. And I don't even talk to him really much anymore.
Does it still exist, or no?
It's on Spotify and Apple and all that kind of shit.
The older archived ones.
Yeah. No, we have it. Yeah.
I didn't know if he did it by himself now or something.
No. It was kind of me leading the ship for the most part.
Did you take the reins? Because I tried it before. I did one, and you probably never saw it. It was called the Offsides Podcast. Offside. Everything I say is offsides. Like, that's just kind of me at that time, right? Just drinking too much or just trying to get a viral clip. Like, that's not the way to do this, right? Like, and then I would try to bounce stuff off my producer. He's the producer of this show, but he's in the background. That's where he should be. Edit the clips, do the TikTok things, whatever you got to do, man. But, like, I would be like, all right, yeah, Ryan, what do you think about that? And he's like, yeah, it's a pretty good idea. I'm like, what the fuck, man? You have to, like, have some sustenance in this podcast. Like, you're the co-host or whatever, you know, part. Like, he was like, oh, I'm the producer. I was like, oh, I'll be the laugh track in the background. I'll just be laughing at your jokes and shit. And I'm like, I don't need that. Like, if it's funny, people are going to laugh at home. I don't.
We have a button for that.
Yeah, like, Jesus Christ. Like, we should get a soundboard and do funny noises. No, we should not. Like,
yeah, the biggest thing I would even say is, I mean, the virality aspect's really cool. It can have, like, pros and cons to it, but I found the best way to get out there, kind of be known more, was just to add value. Even that therapy kind of section we were kind of talking about, I mean, if people were to see this, be like, these are two different dudes that are pretty normal and shit talking about how therapy helped them out. I mean, it's really about adding value, because I've done so many shows that are just so stupid, but there will be like a 30-second snippet where I'm like, I did this one change and it changed everything. that would be way more than me whipping my dick out on screen. You know, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, Ari Shaffir style.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the next one, or one of the ones I want to do, is my buddy. He got diagnosed as bipolar, and he's like, hey, let me get the meds set up, and then I want to come on and talk about my experience. Like, lost his wife and kids. Not that they're gone forever, but you know, you had to like make a call and be like, hey, this isn't making me happy anymore. Like, yeah, we made kids together, but like we should be separate and go on with our lives. And I'm like, I'm excited for that, just to see that insight, because me and you haven't gone through that. Well, a little bit you on that end, but like, you know, it's just like I want to get all those perspectives, have different episodes. And it's not like that's the theme or what that one's about, but it'll mostly be driven that way. And that's what I kind of like, you know, I didn't want to, like with you, I'm like, I don't want to go fucking with business shit. Like, I'll ask a few questions, right? But like, I don't want to be sitting here going, what's the numbers and like all that shit. Who gives a fuck, dude? No one wants to listen to that shit.
I had to pay an IRS bill today. I'm not getting into that at all. Fucking.
Fuck the IRS, dude. Jeez.
Yeah, dude, for real.
They're coming for those loans, and I'm like, damn it, you have to pay them back? Like,
oh yeah, people didn't realize. I never took any, but I have some friends who are like, dude, yeah, we have to pay that shit back. I'm like, what the fuck do you think? I thought COVID was I loved it. It was business as usual for me. It fucked a lot of people over, but I mean, I was already working from home. It was chill. I mean, it just made it easier for me and shit. Everybody's at home buying shit online, so I'm like, my ads are looking great because everybody needs fucking dick pills or whatever it may be. So yeah, COVID was a great thing. But I mean, nothing's really changed. I mean, when people are like, "What do you do, dude?" and like, I'm just hang out.
Yeah, no. I feel like COVID, like just with the mental health shit and all that stuff, it was good for me. I was paying off, you know, my loans. Like I think it was like $1,200 a month. I'm still on it, but a little help from the family on that one. But yeah, it was just like, I'm driving around because I'm a construction worker, right? So I'm an essential guy. I have a little piece of paper in my truck to show that I can be on the highway. I'm just ripping down 183, 90 miles an hour because no one's out there. I have this little stupid story of like, I get to a house, we did stucco, so you have to paint it after, right? It's just sand and whatever, cement. So it's on the exterior of the house. I'm walking up to a house with 2 buckets, 5 gallons each, right? No mask on. I don't know why I would need one, right? I'm just putting these in the garage, getting back in my truck by myself. Cop rolls up. Whoop, whoop. I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, put a mask on. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Like, in dripping
for COVID
springs.
and not like I thought it was like the stucco with the asbestos or some shit.
I'm like, no.
Holy
It's just
fuck.
dropping off some buckets of paint. I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Go arrest someone doing meth. Like, why am I getting picked on here?
I remember one time I was with base cam. We were driving back from like I think San Antonio, and we picked up some bud, and it was all in our hockey gear, and we had like I think 2 pounds, 3 pounds in there,
Jesus.
and he's in his little Civic, and we're both white as fuck, had our Bieber hair and everything. We're like, yes, officer, we apologize. And I remember we pulled away, and they were like, haha, we just got away with that shit. And all this
White privilege.
yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
No, I've never really had any issues with the law, luckily. But
Alright, well, we're almost at an hour, or at an hour now.
I gotta piss like a
Yeah,
fucking
same here,
racehorse.
So I was like, I gotta cut it. Well, as always, goodbye forever, and Mike Maneri.
Thanks, y'all.